Lesson 9.6, quadratic formula. So Friday, we solved equations that could factor. And so we factored equations, and then we set both parts equal to 0, right? So our backup plan, because not everything factors. So our backup plan is the quadratic formula. So quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remind me later, I can play you some, well, I would say cool quadratic formula songs.
Oh, gosh.
I'm not sure how cool they are, but they're still fun. How about some fun quadratic formula songs? I have honestly had some of my calculus students that say, that's how I remembered it, is that song you played. Whatever.
Do you
Okay.
have to remember it? Like, is it not going to be there? See it on the test?
For Algebra 1, it'll probably be there. Honestly, for Algebra 2, I usually provide it. Pre-calc and calc, they're on their own. They're supposed to know it. Okay? So quadratic formula. You guys need to be familiar with it, right?
Yeah.
Now, where do these ABCs come from?
The alphabet.
Oh.
From the equation.
It's ax squared plus bx plus c as long as my equation equals 0. Your equation has to equal 0. If your equation equals 0, a is in front of the x squared. B is a number in front of x, and c is just a plain number. Okay? So, x squared minus 3x minus 10. First of all, first question should always be, does my equation equal 0?
Yes.
Yes. So, beginner level here, can you tell me your ABCs?
1x is
Don't say x though, just what's the number?
1,
1. A is 1. What's B?
3. Oh, negative 3. Yeah.
More specifically, good, negative 3. And what's C? Negative 10. It does not hurt to write those down. There's no shame in writing those down, so you have them to look at, right? Okay, so quadratic formula, we're filling it in up there. X equals, I got the hard part out of the way, right? Negative b. What do we do for negative b?
Negative 1.
Try again.
Not negative 1.
No, negative b is not negative 1.
Oh, negative b. Jeez. Okay. It's going to be negative 3, but it's already negative 1.
Okay, so if we say it's the negative of negative 3, that's going to become positive 3, right? So it's the opposite of whatever it already is. So positive 3, and I'll write that my next step, plus or minus the square root, and we're just writing it all out now. B squared, which means
Well,
b, so negative 3 raised to the power of 2, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 10, all over 2a, and a is
negative.
negative 3. Don't trust your teacher.
I don't trust myself.
I didn't know if you said 1 because I had written 2 times 1 at first
No, I
without.
didn't realize that. I just was assuming because of A.
Yeah, so, oh, wait a minute. Gosh.
Huh.
So what's 2a supposed to be?
And we'll just
2 times a, which is,
Oh.
one.
1.
Was right.
The 1 was right. I wrote it first, and then I was like, oh, wait, no, that's not right. Then I wrote negative 3. And then I still heard, or then I heard you say 1. I was like, oh, don't trust, yeah. Whew, really don't trust your math teacher today.
Out there in the world.
Man, rough. Okay, so from here, we got to do the math, right?
Yeah.
And again, don't be afraid to write lots of steps. So we already talked. The negative of negative 3 is going to be Positive 3. Plus or minus. Now, under your square root, and don't be afraid to use a calculator if you need to for some of this, negative 3 squared. So what is negative 3 times negative 3? Not negative, though.
The negative is positive 4.
Positive 9. And be careful, because if you enter negative 3 squared in your calculator without using parentheses,
It did not go.
it might give you that negative 9 instead of positive 9. Okay. And then we have minus 4 times 1 times negative 10. So this is where I look at, what is 4 times 1 times 10?
4 times 1 is 4, and then times 10 would be 40.
Okay, 4 times 1 is 4, times 10 is 40. Now, I see a minus in front of the 4
Yeah.
and a negative in front of the 10. What's a negative times a negative? A positive.
It would be 9 plus 40.
So it's going to be 9 plus 40. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay. Continuing cleanup. I'm going to go ahead and bring it over here, I think. X equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 2. And what do we know about that square root of 49? It's 7, yes? If you don't know it, the calculator tells you so. X equals 3 plus or minus 7 all over 2. Now, in this situation, since there's no square roots left, we don't want to stop here. Go a little farther. My recommendation is probably think about it as 2 problems. Since it says x equals 3 plus or minus 7, one variation is 3 plus 7 divided by 2. And the other variation is 3 minus 7 divided by 2. So, what is 3 plus 7? 10. And 10 divided by 2? 5. So one answer is 5. What is 3 minus 7? Negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2? Negative 2. So if you can, go far enough to get those 2 answers. So my answers are 5 and negative 2. Not remembering off the top of my head, Math Excel is probably going to just want you to put a comma between the answers. That's my guess. It's not horrible, is it? Now, I will tell you there are occasions, not as often in Algebra 1, but there might be occasions where you don't get a nice, neat square root of 49, and you might have to go decimals. Okay? So that is a possibility. But right now, more than anything, I'm just trying to get you guys to be familiar with quadratic formula, right? How do we use it? Okay, are you getting ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, let me move my screen so I have room to work here.
It's not 0 and it doesn't have a C.
Well,
Okay, so first things first. Kylie's over here complaining it's not 0. Well, we cannot proceed with quadratic formula if it's not 0. How do we get this equation to be equal to 0?
I don't remember. I gotta look.
we do the. I know it involves probably, my guess is that
actually. I don't know.
If I want to make this equation equal 0, means I want to move this 6 over here.
Make this 6 oh,
No. We don't want to do magic. How do I move a positive 6 over the other side? Well, if we add 6 to 6, okay, so it's already positive 6. If we add 6 to 6, we're just going to get bigger. If we want that 6 to cancel out and become 0, we're going to subtract 6.
Then that equals
If you subtract 6 on the right, subtract 6 on the left. So then I have 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 0.
bingo.
Now that takes care of the complaint that we don't have a 0, and it takes care of the complaint we don't have a c. Now, it is possible to not have a c, it just means c would be 0. But you can't say that until your equation equals 0. Okay? Okay, ABCs?
A is 2.
Good.
B is 4. And then C is this.
Specifically, it is
Negative.
-6. Okay, I don't have the quadratic formula on the screen right now, but you can look at it up above, right? 10. X equals
-4
negative b, which is -4,
plus or minus square root of
plus or minus the square root of
4 squared minus 4 times 2 times -6. And all of that is going to 2 and times 2.
Okay, did we do it right?
Yes.
Plus or, we said negative b plus or minus, whoops, square root b squared, so 4 squared, minus 4ac. So 4 times a is 2, times c is -6, all over 2a, so 2 times 2. Okay. Okay, cleanups. -4 is -4.
4 squared is 16.
4 squared is 16.
So this is 4. So we have
8 times -6. It's going to say
Okay, so 4 times 2 is 8, times 6 is 48. Now, in terms of signs, I had a minus here, right? It was a minus or -4
yeah.
times a -6,
Those positive.
so that makes it plus.
Times 2 is -8 times -6.
Okay, so -4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 48 all over 4.
Times 2, which is
X equals -4 plus or minus the square root of 64 all over 4. -4 plus or minus, what is the square root of 64?
8.
8 all over 4. Should I stop there?
no.
No. Okay, split it up. -4 plus 8 divided by 4 and -4 minus 8 divided by 4. -4 plus 8 is not -4 plus 8.
Oh, it's -4.
-4 plus 8 is going to be
Jeez, 4.
positive 4
4
divided by 4, which is
is 1.
1. -4 minus 8
Is -4 divided by 4.
no, Negative 4 minus 8?
Oh, negative. Jeez.
Is
Yes. Negative 12.
And negative 12 divided by 4 is?
-3.
Negative 3. So we end up with solutions of 1
1 negative.
and negative 3. You seem to be ignoring that negative out front on the 4 for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay,
That's because I didn't put it there.
that would make sense then. Okay, one more thing to show you, and then you guys can work. We practice quadratic formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
And quadratic formula is what finds our two answers, assuming there are two answers. What we're going to talk about on this part is in a situation where you don't need to know what the answers are, you just need to know how many answers there are. Normally, there's two answers. However, there are special cases where there's only one answer or where there's no real solutions. There might be solutions, but not real number solutions. Okay, so notice what it talks about up here, something called the discriminant. And the discriminant is the expression under the radical sign in the quadratic formula. So when I talk about the discriminant, I'm talking about b squared minus 4ac. Here's what we know. The last two problems we just did, our b squared minus 4ac turned out to be a positive value, right? And it was a positive value, and how many solutions did we have? 2. So if b squared minus 4ac is positive, you know that there's two answers. What if b squared minus 4ac equals 0? Then there's no plus or minus part, so there can only be one real number solution. And if b squared minus 4ac is negative, that means there are no real number solutions. And that is because you can't have a negative under a square root right now. Okay? So, the questions we are looking at here. Find the number of real number solutions. In other words, I don't need you to work the quadratic formula out. I just want to know how many answers would there be to this problem. So, the number of real number solutions, which means all I need to find is the discriminant. b squared minus 4ac. Make sure, does our equation still have to equal 0?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in order to get our ABCs, our equation has to equal 0. So does our equation equal 0?
Yes.
So what are my ABCs?
A is -2.
A is -2.
B is 8, and C is -5.
Okay, B is 8. C is -5.
So we have 8 squared minus 4 times -2 times -8.
Okay, I can't go that fast, but yes. B squared, so 8 squared minus 4 times A is -2 times C is -5. Well, what do we know? 8 squared is
64.
64. -4 times -2 times -5.
4 times -2 is 8 times 5. Which is 40. -40.
Okay. So we ended up with 64 minus 40. What do you know about 64 minus 40?
It's positive.
Yeah, it's positive, right? Officially it's 24, but I don't even have to know that 24, do I? I just know that this is a positive, and because it's positive, how many solutions are there?
2.
There are 2 Real number
So
solutions. So watch and homework. When they ask you how many solutions are there, you get to skip the big old quadratic formula and just do the little part, which is nice, isn't it? Okay, one more example.
what is that? Oh,
Negative 3x squared minus 4x equals 8.
You gotta do the thing where you subtract 8.
We have to do the thing where we subtract 8.
yeah.
And why do we have to do the thing where we subtract 8?
Because
Because it's not
zero.
0.
Good. Okay, we want this equation to be equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 8. So negative 3x squared minus 4x minus 8 equals 0.
Then your A is negative 3, B is negative 4, C is negative 8.
Good. What he said. A is negative 3, B is negative 4, C is negative 8. What is it I have to find?
The number of solutions. Oh, wait. No.
And how do I find the number of solutions?
4. And B,
I just have to find
B squared
B
minus
squared,
b squared minus 4ac. And do the math.
negative 9.
Not negative 9.
Yeah, sorry, my brain is.
Negative 4 squared
Yeah, I don't know why I thought A for a second.
minus 4 times negative 3 times negative 8. Negative 4 squared.
16.
Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. Minus 4 times minus 3 times minus 8.
Square is 16.
Okay, 4 times negative 3 is. Oh, negative 4 times negative 3 is 12 times negative 8, which is negative 96. So it's 16 minus 96, which is going to be a negative.
Okay, 16 minus 96 is going to be negative something, right? Do we even have to really know the something?
No.
No. It's negative 80, but we just need to know that it is negative. Because the discriminant came out negative, what's that tell me about number of solutions?
No solutions.
There are no
Oh, real solution.
real number solutions. This may sound like a silly question to ask, but I've seen it happen sometimes. There are no real number solutions. How many solutions is that?
Not 0.
0, yes? Just because sometimes they'll say, okay, are there 0, 1, or 2 solutions? Okay. Your homework is in Math Excel, of course. Should be lesson 9-6. And should be available, I would think.